The first night that I was in London, I slept on the floor of my studio, like with nothing in the studio, unfurnished room. You don't get into this because you want to be rich. You don't get into this because you want to be successful. If you do well, then there'll be byproducts. You need to be here because you really love it, and that's the only thing that's going to pull you through. If you want people to understand you, it's way more beneficial if you fit into a box. The hard thing is, if you're the resident DJ, everyone's counting on you. You can't be like, oh, I'm taking next week off. The DJs are very influential with the people who own the nightclubs. If you're a nightclub owner and you're looking for an artist to book, you're probably going to ask your DJ. I can tell you right now, a blueprint to get to play big festivals. And it's...
Welcome back to the Off the Record DJ podcast, guys. Special one today. I had loads of stats that I was going to read out, but if you're watching this, you know who it is. It is one of the best DJ producers on the planet, James Hype in the building.
Thank you, Ro.
Let's go. Mate, welcome back to Leeds.
Thank you. When I came in, someone said to me, I was like, oh, how long has it been since you've been in Leeds? And I really had to think. It's been a long time, mate.
Yeah. Like you come in because you're doing a Get Closer UK tour, and we're going to talk about nightlife and what it means and all that kind of thing. But yeah, just you had a show last night in Lincoln, so you're doing like local clubs, local tour. But driving in that tour bus, getting there, did it like bring back memories of like early DJing days? Because you started in the club scene like around Merseyside and Leeds and Manchester and all that kind of thing. Yeah.
Well, last night we were in a club called Home in Lincoln. Yeah. And it's actually somewhere that I DJ'd like 10 years ago. I stood in for the resident DJ in there when it first opened. Yeah. So, and I remember at the time it was so big and so significant to me. I was like, what a big opportunity, you know? Gonna get to play in the main room in this new club. Yeah. And I went back in there last night and like those feelings coming back to me. I was like, wow, that's crazy.
Amazing. Yeah. Because I remember like you're from a similar scene that we are, and it's like I remember going to like DJ booth and seeing like CDs with like James Hype and people like that. Yeah. And it's like we used to give out mix CDs and stuff to promote. So it's amazing. It's come like full circle. Also, you actually did the early days of Crossfader. You came and did like a live event for up and coming producer DJs, and you come and spoke at it. So it's like cool to come like full circle. But yeah, take me back to them like early like clubbing days, like doing the residencies and them nights. You know, you turn up every night and there's like 5 people there, or you know, getting that reps in back in the day. Did that all come back to you like?
Yeah, totally, man. I mean, I used to DJ 5 or 6 nights a week, every week for years, like actual years, like. Long time. Yeah. And obviously I had the nights that were good. I remember when I first started, they gave me a Tuesday night in this after hours club in Liverpool. Yeah. But it was busy. It was busy. About 4 a.m. people came in the door, and I realized quite quickly that in order for me to do my job well, I just had to keep the people on the dance floor. I remember the first time I played, I was like, yeah, I'm going to play all these amazing tunes, all my favorite tunes. And then very quickly realized at 4 a.m., no one cares about your favorite tunes, mate. So yeah, I had to learn how to keep people on the dance floor in a way that was also sort of a bit of me. You know what I mean? I wasn't gonna just start playing like stuff that I hated. And then after a while, I started getting the better nights. So I did the Tuesday well, and pretty soon they gave me the Thursday.
Hello.
And Thursday in Liverpool was like big student night, and I think the owner of the club, he was like, oh, James is young, he's going to connect with the students, you know? And it was great. The Thursday was amazing. Cool. It was like a dream for me. And after the Thursday, I think I got like a Saturday and a Friday and started progressing through all these nights. But there's one night that always sticks with me, and I used to live in Liverpool city centre, like on top of all the clubs. If anyone knows Liverpool, a place called Concert Square, I had like a penthouse apartment in Concert Square, and the guy that I DJ'd for on a Saturday night opened a new venue, and he asked me if I would do Sundays in there, and he wanted me to play like completely different music. He wanted me to play like a bit of like indie rock and some like soul and like really open format. And I was aware of other DJs sort of playing this style, and there were people who were doing it in a really cool way, and I was like, yeah, okay, I'm going to give this a go, make it my own. And I started doing this Sunday, and it was not very busy, and I kept at it, and I didn't really enjoy it most weeks. And I remember having a conversation with the boss. I was like, I don't think I'm going to carry on doing it, because I was so busy. I didn't need to do it. And but on reflection now, I think I didn't quit the Sunday. I did it for about a year, maybe. I did it for a long time.
Yeah.
And I think those Sundays gave me so much, because when it's a Sunday, the energy is so different. I wasn't fighting to keep the people on the dance floor in the same way that I was on the Thursday. On the Thursday, I was like, I've got to make the owner so much money and all this. I've got to make sure that it's the best energy ever. Yeah. But on the Sunday, I was actually like spending time digging through music, trying to, and I was learning so much.
Yeah.
And I was learning, I found this really cool record from the 80s. If I play this group of people are going to love it. And I learned that, and then I was able to put that into practice on the Sunday, but also put that into practice on the Saturday in a way, put that into the music that I was making in ways. And that gig always comes back to me when people talk about repetition, like you just did.
The UK like DJ culture is it's so tight knit. Like, it's a really, when you get in with people, I've heard you talk about like some of your like early influences are just like the DJs who had the residencies that you wanted, or who was at the bigger club, right? And it's kind of like that in the UK, right? It's like everyone, depending on where you go, like Leeds has a bit of a different scene, Manchester, Liverpool, but in them scenes, generally all the DJs sort of connect and help each other out. But is that what you found, like in them early sort of years, just like you just looking up to like the next guy or the guy who had a better residency than you?
Well, as I just mentioned, the old Sunday night thing. So one guy I really looked up to at that time is a guy called Dan Hills.
Yeah.
And I actually used to come to Leeds to watch him play. I can't remember the name of the club, but it was a student night that he did, and he was playing like Stevie Wonder and stuff like that. It was
we played together like last weekend.
Yeah. He's amazing, mate. He's great. But honestly, I don't think I ever really belonged to a city, so I'm not sure I've experienced what you're talking about there. And I'm not saying that from like a bitter perspective.
No.
I'm not. I've done all right, but I think if I really had belonged to a city, then I probably would have had more sort of friends along the way and stuck to a sort of group. But I didn't grow up in Liverpool. I grew up outside of Liverpool.
Sure.
Moved into Liverpool. Felt like a bit of an outsider.
Yeah.
And then I was a bit of an outsider. Liverpool's very, very house music. And I was sort of the guy who played house music, but also brought little bits of other things in. Sure. And that's like, you're not always going to make friends doing things like that. Doesn't mean it's a bad thing. It just means if you're sort of against the status quo, then people might not always understand you straight away. And then I was only in Liverpool for 5 or 6 years, and I started branching out to other cities. Sure. So I don't really feel like Liverpool claims me like that. I was never really one of the boys there. I mean, obviously, me and you have met, and I've met a ton of other great DJs on the road, but it's never really been local. Like that.
I remember the first time I sort of was like aware of you was like when you was making bootlegs after bootlegs, and when like DJ City was like popping, and it was like DJ City charts and things like that. I think it's really where like a lot of all the UK producers, especially, like really like took you under our wing, because we're like, everything you made, we're like, oh, we can play this. And it got to a point where you're like, you didn't really have to listen. It's like, yeah, he's made one. Let's put it in the collection and let's go. But did you start to like feel like the first time you're like creating a fan base through sort of the DJ producer community first?
100%, 100%. Like and the interesting thing for me, so to elaborate on what Lawrence is saying, I was doing remixes of popular current songs in like a house music style, and I was making things for my own DJ sets, because I just sort of I'd figured out what needed to be made in my head, and I was like, let me make that, and if I can play it, the odds are a lot of other people are going to play it. And I got sort of addicted to this process of releasing a remix every week, and I was doing one a week.
Insane,
and I would put it on SoundCloud, and I'd put it on DJ City, and all the DJs would get it. And I did become very popular with DJs like yourself. But the weird thing about that is DJs are never going to be the ones who come to watch you at your shows. True. Because they're all DJing themselves.
That's right.
So I had like social media is popping, everyone's like, yeah, James, you're the best. But then they're all DJing. Like, so who's going to come and watch me play? Yeah. So that was sort of a disconnect there. But then the way that actually translated into being beneficial for me, the DJs are very influential with the people who own the nightclubs.
Right.
So if you're a nightclub owner and you're looking for an artist to book, you're probably going to ask your DJ.
True.
And I would have been in that very low price point of people that you can book, and they're like, oh, what about this guy, James Hype? I'm playing his remixes all night, and he's building his profile on Instagram, and the club manager's like, all right, cool, he's affordable, let's book him. So there was a period where I wouldn't say I had any fans outside of DJs, but I was getting gigs because all the DJs were helping me get into that position.
Yeah. When was like the moment you thought, because I remember you moved to America, didn't you, throughout that period? When was it time for you to be like, right, this residency thing's sort of working, I'm making tunes, getting a few local bookings. Was there a moment you were like, right, I've got to go, if I want to go here, I've got to like get out of here or try a different tact than just trying to DJ 7 nights a week at residencies?
Yeah. Well, I'll be totally transparent. The move to America thing was complete smoke and mirrors.
Yes.
But I'll explain that and why that sort of made sense. So I was doing resident DJing, and I felt like I'd reached a point where there was no further I could go. I was resident in Prism in Leeds on Saturday night, and that was like the best club that you could be the resident DJ in at the time.
I was in the R&B room.
And I'd got to the point where I was really selective with what gigs I was doing. I was like, I'm going to do this one because it's the biggest, this one because it's the biggest, and then I'm going to stay home all the rest of the week. And I was making music, and I was making house music. 5 years before that, I was playing all genres. But through this period, I'd realised, okay, I kind of need to stick to one genre. Exactly, Otherwise, people want to put you in a box, and if they can't put you in a box, then they don't really understand what you are, and that makes everything a lot harder. So I was like, okay, I've always liked house music. Why not? Let me do. And also, I'm a white guy from the suburbs. Let me do house music. I mean, it just makes sense, doesn't it? Yeah. So I'd committed to house music, and I'd taken my residency game down to just a couple of key ones. And I had a few people, a few of these clubs messaging me on Facebook like, James, we want to book you. And I was full transparency, I was probably getting paid. I think I was earning £600 on a Saturday night from my residencies, and then like maybe £400 on a Friday. And through the week, I was probably doing £1,500 or something on the residencies, which was like, I thought that was really top tier. But I had these people who wanted to book me, and they were going to pay me more than that just for 1 hour, you know? But the hard thing is, if you're the resident DJ, everyone's counting on you. You can't be like, oh, I'm taking next week off, because well, you know you're not. No. Like, because we can't just replace you like that. Otherwise, you wouldn't have the job already. So I came to this point where, and I was working with some really cool people who did let me take weeks off, but it came to this point where I realized I had to leave the residencies in order for me to really move forward with these bookings that were coming in, and I picked my timing. Anyone who's a club DJ knows that. You get really busy before Christmas, and then January is pretty lame.
Couple months.
Even February is pretty lame, isn't it? Like the clubs just aren't busy, and it's pretty depressing.
Yeah, it is.
So I remember I worked my ass off all the way up to December, saved up money, sold a car, and I think I had about £12,000 in the bank, which was loads of money for me then. Like I wasn't very old, wasn't very good at saving money. And I decided, I don't really remember the thought process behind this, but I always love taking big risks.
Of course.
I decided I'm just going to go to America. And I know that there's no gigs for me here in January, or none that I need to do, none that I want to do. So I'm just going to go and make loads of noise on the internet. And I got a flight to America, booked some sick Airbnbs, not too expensive, but like just really cool kind of locations. And I bought some CDJs. Mate, this is such a big transition when I think back. Right,
you're like, what was I doing?
Little key thing that I forgot to mention here. I was DJing on Serato up until this point.
Oh, right.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I was a house DJ playing on Serato, but I knew that I couldn't be because again, you got to fit into that box.
You have to,
and I mean, you don't have to. That's the wrong thing to say.
Yeah.
But if you want people to understand you, it's way more beneficial if you fit into a box. So I was fitting into this house music box, and I was like, I think I need to DJ on USBs because Serato just doesn't look right.
Especially when you're going to house shows and trying to set up around the house guy. And he's
it was like
what's going on?
I had to prove to people that I was a house DJ. Right. I probably had to prove to myself that I was a house DJ as well. You know,
I get that.
So yeah, I bought two CDJ 2000s, DJ M900, and I was in America, in like LA, just like doing live streams on Facebook every day, and all of these people who knew me from the UK, they were like, "What the hell is going on there? James Hype has moved to America, and he's just like." So then everyone's like, "He's killing it.
It's so weird."
Yeah, and then I'm there like getting through the savings, like, ooh. And also I didn't have a visa, so I was just there like on a ESTA, which means I can stay in the country for 90 days.
Right.
So I was always coming home, but I didn't really let on that I was coming home. And then I think in like February, I was also, bear in mind, I was producing loads of music at this point as well. Sure. I just put all my time into this, and this really coincided with my producing taking off as well. I remember I had a few official remixes for record labels, so they were paying me a little bit of money, but also just like the kind of exposure that comes from that, because I've been releasing remixes on SoundCloud, just bootleg things, and all of a sudden your remix is on Spotify with the real artist name on it. Crazy. So that all coincided at the same time, and it was like February. I was thinking about like, okay, what am I going to do in April when I have to go home? And I just started thinking like, okay, I'm going to have to start getting some bookings in. Now, there were a couple of people who had booked me in the past who were happy to book me again. So there were a few of them going in the diary, and then I just had to just keep making noise. And the more noise I made, the more people were like, oh, can you come and play at my club? And I started filling up my diary for when I came back to the country. And also when I came back to the country, I moved to London.
Did you?
Honestly, this is such a crazy
You're
story.
Like, what the hell?
Yeah.
How did this happen? Is that when you... Because like, we'll get into your content in a bit more granular detail, but is that when you moved to London, is that when you were like, this content is basically everything, this is where I'm going to go all in? Or was there a gap between maybe getting more official remixes? When was that switch of being like, I need to go all in on content because that's what's really going to get me to the next level? Or were you focused on like the official remixes and putting your own music out, or a bit of both?
I wouldn't say I was as all in on content then as I was now. I mean, for the time I was pretty all in. Like there are I was doing DJ routines.
Yes,
you can see some DJ routines from that period on my YouTube where I had a ponytail and stuff, but not loads of it. And short form wasn't really a thing, was it? So
like Facebook on it and stuff like that.
Yeah, I wasn't really doing a significant amount of views on any of it. I was keen to, and there were people who were, but not really in the dance music space. So I wouldn't say I was all in, but I was probably more all in than a lot of other people. But one thing I was always very aware of, I remember when I first moved to London, I wasn't really doing a great deal, but there were some DJs that I'd connected with on the internet, and maybe like one of the first weekends I was in London, there's a duo called Jack and Danny,
right? And
we'd bonded over just like, we were making similar type of music, we were making edits of stuff, and I was a fan of their work, they were a fan of my work, and I was just I think I was messaging them on maybe Instagram, not really sure what it would have been at that time. And the first weekend I was in London, they had a show, and they were really like established in the London scene, and I didn't know anything about the London scene. I just knew that London was cool and I wanted to be there. So
you have to be there.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So what I did the first weekend I was in London, I went to their show, and I'll never forget this. I was on the stage next to them taking selfies, making it look like I was playing at the show.
Right.
And I posted it on my Instagram, and it was like just like a generic caption, not telling any lies. I was just like, thanks to this club, sick night. Yeah. And so there's always been, it's like I said to you, the America thing was smoke and mirrors. I never moved to America. It was smoke and mirrors. But it got everyone talking like I'd moved to America. And then the thing with this, it's like one saying that always comes up in my head: perception is reality.
Yes.
You know, so it was like, oh, James Hype's on stage at this club in London. he's probably playing. Half the people will think you're playing, half the people won't, but it doesn't really matter. Like,
people are going to dig into it and find out. You take it at face value. Yeah, that happened.
Yeah. And if you've got the stuff to back it up as well. I mean, if you're a waste man and then everyone's going to be like, what is he doing?
I'm onto you.
But if they're like, oh, it's James Hype, he's making moves, he's just done this remix, and now he's on stage, he's killing it, you know?
I think it's amazing. Like, when, like, up until now, in between that point, like, one thing that stands out is just the ridiculous amount that you put out, and that goes from when you were doing 2 remixes a week on DJ City, that goes to when you were doing 4 residencies a week in Liverpool or whatever. Up until now, it's like, I don't think people can really comprehend it, right? Because they'll look at it and you'll go, yeah, I get why he's super successful right now, because you can't get away from the ridiculous output. Like, where, like, we'll get into sort of like how this happens, but on sort of a more, like, I guess, philosophical level, like, where is that drive? Like, where does that even come from? Is it just because you just love this shit? Is it as simple as that?
You've got to, mate. You've got to, because like, I get paid well now, but not for a long time. Like, the stories we're talking about now, through this period, I was borrowing money from my girlfriend and stuff, like, and she didn't have a lot of money. So it's, like, when I first moved to London, I didn't have anywhere to sleep. Like, I first moved to London, and we were trying to get places that would allow us to rent, because it's very tough to rent property in London. They want you to prove that you earn loads of money. They want you to prove that you can so I couldn't get approved to rent anywhere. Didn't have enough money. They wanted me to pay up front. But what I did get approved for was a cash rental of my studio. So the first night that I was in London, I slept on the floor of my studio.
Really?
Yeah,
man.
Like, with nothing in the studio, unfurnished room. I had, like, I can't even remember, like, some clothes or something under my head, and like, so you don't get into this because you want to be rich. You don't get into this because you want to be successful. If you do well, then there'll be byproducts, but you need to be here because you really love it, and that's the only thing that's going to pull you through. And I was in school. I was a teenager, getting suspended for bringing a boombox with me because I'm just refusing not to play music to people. So, like, that's who I am. That I was born for it, and I know that. And when I discovered producing as well and found my process for that, it was like unlocked a whole new thing.
So every gig at that time in and around London, or the shows you were doing, you just basically putting everything back into the craft, into your studio, the rental, travel.
I didn't make any money for a couple of years after that.
And I think that's what, like, I really want to get across to, like, people, is like the amount of hustle that it takes to sort of get to this level. I'd love to talk to you about, like, your process of like daily, like, you've got a bit of a team now, but when that started to grow and you was like, okay, I'm going to start making, you started, like, making series content from, like, lockdown, when you're doing streams and things like that. How involved are you in that process of content? Obviously, you've got a team now, but in them early days, are you across, like, everything, or do you focus on DJing, producing, the brand?
I mean, I started the content in that period. I was very fortunate. I used to live with a guy who was my best friend at the time, and he became my content guy. But when he became my content guy, he was DJ. Right. So I had a camera. And I think I used to take a camera with me to shows and put it on a tripod behind me. And I taught him how to use the camera, and he ended up way better than me. Like, he actually started, like, studying it. But I taught him how to use the camera. So how involved am I in the content? I am pretty involved, probably more than most DJs. Is it?
How often do you sort of have meetings about content? Is it like, right, we're doing this week, we're doing this, or is it like all over the place? Because I've just the schedule, just laughing in the background.
Wallace is in the back of the room. How often do we have meetings about content? Content comes before everything. Because without the content, there's nothing. Like, I could make the best song in the world, but without the content, no one's going to listen to it. So
what I want to get across is, like, people watching this, like, wanting to some, like, tips and tricks of, like, because you watch your content, like, short forms, and there's simple, like, tools, right? You'd be like, I've never seen a DJ do this, or imagine doing this live, or something like that. That's, people can do that, right? People can go up and for their own sort of routines and set it up in a club and something, and the hook is everything, right? There's the hook, there's the how you sort of capture people, and I guess doing it all yourself initially, you just like earn that memory, and you're like, I know what this is going to look like. I know about this piece of content, how it's going to look, or is that?
But we get it wrong loads.
Yeah, sure. Like, testing.
Yeah.
Testing
like the one you've just referenced. I've never seen a DJ do this before, or whatever it was. Like I did a couple of posts with that caption like 2 weeks ago, and they've all done over 1 million views. But I remember when we thought of that line, we were all there like, oh, that's good. You know?
Yeah, of course. I want to pull back to what you're doing now. You know, we had a stat about sort of UK nightclub closures closing down, and the almost like the demise of nightclubs. There's like 10 clubs a month shutting down in the UK or something like that. And an article came out saying if this sort of continues, it'll by 2029 or something, like there'll be no sort of nightclubs anymore. And obviously, you're doing a Get Closer tour now around the UK. Is it imperative that we save it, or do you think we sort of have to move like with the times, or is it? No, it's not all on you, by the way.
No. I was thinking about this in the shower this morning because I knew you were going to ask me.
Yeah.
Well, I assumed you would. And there is like, that's an interesting point because we're the old guys now.
Yep.
We're the ones clinging on to what was really cool when we were 18. And maybe if you're 18 now, you're just going to be like, what the hell are those old guys talking about? You know? So maybe we don't need to cling on to these clubs.
Yep.
And obviously, we always will want to cling on to the clubs because all of our formative memories of becoming DJs are based around those clubs. Mm-hmm. But maybe there is something out there that the next generation of DJs will be their formative memories of becoming DJs. I don't know what that looks like, which is why it's scary.
Yeah, we had a bit of a conversation like over the last couple of weeks about it because although this is happening, you know, the reverse tends to happen. So there's been like a lot of different rises. So there's like the rise of like the boiler room type DJ where someone will, you know, pitch up some decks in the middle of somewhere and film themselves. There's loads of like creator YouTube DJs now. There's the rise of daytime events. There's so many like that finish through the daytime, which, you know, makes sense. Let's party. Let's get to bed. Right. There's, you know, unique like, you know, corporate events and all that kind of thing. And there's like, you know, we've got a Meta Quest here and there's VR DJ and there's influencer DJing. So like you say, I think it will evolve and maybe we don't have to hang on to it. However, for now, for the time being, let's do our very fucking best. Tell us a bit more about the sort of the tour. It's a week-long tour, isn't it, that you're here for? And you've just done Home in Lincoln. You're in Leeds tonight, which we're going to come along to and see the show. But some clips from it are absolutely mental. But interestingly, like, you actually blew up earlier in like America and Europe than you did here. Did that right?
Yeah, I would say
sort of.
Yeah.
So is it just really nice coming back and just having huge support like in UK? Because you did the Drum Shed show, right?
Yeah.
That must have been like ridiculous.
The Drum Shed show changed everything for me.
Right.
Like through the period of the pandemic, I used to do more than 4 hours live streaming every week religiously. Like it was my whole routine, and amazingly, it became lots of other people's routine on the internet to tune in. So I reached millions and millions of people. And through that period, I started selling T-shirts, stereo hype T-shirts. And I had all the data on where the people buying them were. And loads of customers in the USA, loads of customers in Europe, loads of customers in the UK. The UK has the biggest fan base of stereo hype T-shirts.
Amazing.
Now, the pandemic ended, and the first place I DJ'd was Finland, which was random. It's still the only time I've been to Finland. It's crazy.
Straight out of lockdown into Finland.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
And then after that, I think I went to the USA, and I was all over Europe. I was everywhere, and my career in all these places, like I've been headlining festivals in Europe for 2 years and doing huge shows in America, and I always had this. My whole team are based in the UK, so my manager's based in the UK. I'm signed to a record label in the UK, and more so for them than for me, there's always been this frustration that the UK doesn't really see you as a significantly big artist. And as I say, I had the data on the T-shirt sales, and we came out of this pandemic period, and I remember having a conversation with my manager, and we were talking about doing shows, and he was like, yeah, but they won't book you for that. And I was like, why? Because they think you don't sell any tickets. And I'm like, listen, I know how many T-shirts I've sold. A T-shirt costs more than a ticket, and you've got to be way more of a fan to buy a T-shirt than you have a ticket. I know how many T-shirts I've sold. I know I can sell tickets. And he's like, yeah, but no one else does. No one else believes that.
Right.
So what we had to do in the UK that we didn't have to do elsewhere is we had to build our own shows to prove that we could actually get people there, because they didn't see it. And I don't know, I can't really be mad at that. It's just part of the journey.
Yeah.
But yeah, so the first show that we did Electric Brixton.
Yep.
Just after the pandemic, sold out. I think that's 1,700 people. And then the next one we did Studio 338, 3,500 people.
Love it there.
And yeah, we sold that one out. And then we did Drum Sheds, 15,000 people. And I did that along with Medusa. I can't take full credit for 15,000 tickets.
Yeah.
But it's just surreal. I remember my manager called me and he was like, do you think we can do it? And I'm like, no, I don't think we can do it. It's ridiculous. It's 15,000 people. And he was like, yeah, but even if we do I think he said 12,000, we'll be happy. And yeah, we did it, and we actually managed to sell it out, and it's phenomenal. And just being there,
that must have been amazing,
unbelievable. I was crying before my set. And yeah, it's a crazy place. And I think through the process of that, doing that show, proving to people, like this year, I've got loads of offers for festivals in the UK and stuff. And we did Creamfields last summer as well. And it's all off the back of that, because when you do something that big, you're doing something so big that people can't ignore you.
Yeah,
you know.
100%. When you're going through and playing these different shows, and just even your different shows in general, right? You've been this week, you've probably been America and back or whatever. Going back to the days where you're playing, different crowds every night. Like if you play in Leeds, right? You'll know if you play in Leeds and you drive 45 minutes to Manchester, they're like different music, it's a different scene. So how does that translate into your shows now? Obviously, the levels are different, right? People want to come and see you, they want to see skills, but do you change accordingly still? Do you still have that mindset of getting into, right, I'm going to this show, I need to find out a little bit about the culture, what's popping in this city? Does that just sort of, you've done it so much, does that just kick in? Or do you plan, is it a lot more planned than
I wouldn't say I spend a lot of time doing that, but I love doing that. I recently played a show in San Francisco, and there's a clip of me playing Mac Dre. I literally did
I've seen this.
I did a transition down to 100 BPM and dropped a Mac Dre tune, and the crowd went mental.
It was sick.
I don't know anything about Mac Dre. I'm gonna be honest. I've got a friend who's from the Bay Area, and he nenever shuts up about Mac Dre. Right. And I was like, really? Is this guy really that popular? Sorry for my ignorance if you're from the Bay, right? And I dropped into this Mac Dre tune, and forget Ferrari. They did not care about any of my tunes at this point. That went mental. And I love doing those. I love giving people those little moments, because that's, for me, that's part of real DJing. That's
100%.
And I love music. I love music. I love the history of music, and sometimes I'll just go on Spotify and just be fascinated, that person made that song, and I'm obsessed with that stuff. So if I can get that into my DJ sets and touch other people with that, not in a nerdy way, in a way that
like emotional connection.
And I remember I did a South America tour earlier this year, and I was going to every place and searching what's the biggest rapper from the place, and I was making a couple of remixes of local rappers and stuff, and the people were losing their minds, man. And it's so cool to be able to just
tap into the culture of the place
and pay tribute to it. And then also just on a non-geographical level as well, changing up the sets. There's so many different types of clubs and crowds that I'll play to as well. I have a residency in Las Vegas, and anyone who's been to Las Vegas will know that the crowd there is so diverse and so varied.
All tourists, right?
Yeah, all tourists, and you end up DJing in a very sort of greatest hits kind of way, you'll play all your own songs, you'll play some other popular songs that people know, you'll play some really old songs that will get the crowd going. There's not so much experimental music, there's not so much brand new fresh stuff, whereas I'll play in other places. I have a residency in Ibiza, and when I'm playing in Ibiza, then I'm digging deep in
musical journey.
Exactly, So beyond the geography, there are so many different variations of ways to play.
But I love that you lead into that, because if somebody gets a residency in a place like Vegas, it's very easy to come and just be like, okay, I'm going to play what I'm going to play, and dance or not kind of thing. And if you're a bit more underground, or you're not from the clubbing era and open format era, you might not have that inkling to do that.
Yeah,
do you know what I mean?
But that's from the reps putting in on the Sunday nights in Liverpool.
playing them indie nights. Because I've seen you play some, like you dropped like Mac Dre. I've seen you play like drum and bass in sets and stuff like that. Are you conscious of playing mixed genres, or is it a lane that you actually, I'm building the brand that is me, and you come and see what I can do, and I'll sort of take you on a journey? Like, are you going to experiment with more genres, or is it a bit like, let's just see where it goes kind of thing, not thinking about it too much?
Yeah, I'm not thinking about it too much. The thing with, I'm very good at making house music now.
Sure.
And that might sound really arrogant, but it took me a long time to get really good at it. I was really bad for a long time.
You've done it enough.
I've done it for a long time, and so that's kind of really easy for me. So my default will probably always be making house music. So making other genres might be a bit of a stretch, but I love just dropping little pieces of them in a house music set. I'm always trying to be as me as I possibly can be, and I think there's a million great house DJs out there, but maybe what makes me different from a lot of those is the fact that I did used to play all genres of music. So here's a little bit of
that. When you like making music, like now until you used to do, like, I know a lot of producers I've spoken to, like on this podcast, are like never really satisfied with a thing, or once the thing's done and you do the next thing, you forgot about the previous work or something like that. Are you able to are you ever sort of satisfied with anything, or is it like, we can do this better, and do you need to be like that?
I'm satisfied with some of my records. I'm satisfied with Ferrari. I'm satisfied with Lose Control. Trying to think which other ones I'm satisfied. Like, don't get me wrong, I listen to old stuff and I'm like, I cringe at my old music. But the stuff that I find that I am really satisfied with when I look back is the stuff that is not, it doesn't sound like a time, it doesn't sound like it sounds, and there are producers who do this really well. Like, you can listen to a Calvin Harris track from like 15 years ago. And even though it would have sounded fresh 15 years ago, it doesn't sound like it's 15 years old today.
I'm with you.
And it's that finesse.
Sure.
And I haven't always managed that. I still fail to do that some days. But when I manage that, that's when I'm happy when I look back.
Yeah. Are you making most of your music just on the road now?
Yeah, pretty much.
Is that how it works?
Yeah, pretty much. I have an amazing studio in London. Sure. I love it when I get to go there. But
how often are you there?
I was away for a month up until this week, and then I've been there all week, sort of preparing for the tour. It kind of depends. Like, there's periods of the year where I travel a few days a week, and then there's periods of the year where I'm just gone. So I don't really.
Are you able to have like a routine, like a daily routine? Like, today I've not got a gig. Is it then, right, I'm in studio making? That's it. Oh, I have a gig and I'm on the way to the gig. Is it?
I love routine, but I can't have it. So the days when I can have it, I do lean into it, because it's. Yeah, I'm quite like obsessive, you know.
Yeah, sure.
So I'll obsess over routine. Like, my girlfriend will get pissed off as well, because she'll be like, "Do you really have to get up at 8 a.m?" Like, yes, I do have to get. Otherwise, I'll be angry all day. You know.
I've been dreaming about a hook all night. Right? Gotta get it out.
Sorry, where were we? Studio. So I'm good at making music on planes, especially really long flights. I'm not good at making music on short flights.
Okay.
But the long flights are great, because no one bothers you on the phone, and as long as you've downloaded what you need before the flight, then you can lose yourself. I've made some sick music on long flights. And the studio is amazing. Like, I've never had such a good sounding room, you know. My studio for a long time was just in a basement of like a mixed use building, and it wasn't a treated room. Cool. It was just like, it sounded like crap, to be honest. But I'd still made some great records in there, you know. Made Ferrari in there. But the studio that I have now is like perfectly treated room. Like, I've got huge monitors in there and stuff. It's brilliant. And that allows me to mix way better than I ever have before, and get the low end sounding incredible, which I've never been able to do before. But I can still make stuff in AirPods. and I do.
Yeah.
And I'll play stuff in a club that I've made in airports.
Really?
Nice. I've never heard it in a studio.
Unbelievable.
And it's just, I'm not bigging up AirPods. I mean, I think they're good, but you could do that with any headphones if you kind of learn what they're supposed to sound like.
Yeah. How have you managed to balance? Have you managed to get a balance between like a healthy producer DJ life, and now you mentioned like last night after Lincoln you got in at like 5 a.m, slept on a tour bus. Are you able to? Where does it become? Where do you draw the line on like I need to have a healthy mind, healthy body, but also I've got like 75 million shows to do? Have you managed to find that balance, or is it not a balance?
Always a struggle. You've got to prioritize sleep at times when there's nothing else to do. Like I got really into the gym like 2 years ago maybe, because I've always gone to the gym, but then like 2 years ago I was just backed off it a little bit. And I remember there's a day where I was like, no, I'm going to go every day. And I did go every day, but it was like to the detriment of other things. Yeah, as I say, I'm quite obsessive. I'd get in from the show at 4 a.m. and we'd have to leave at 10 a.m. to the airport, and I'd be in the gym at 8 a.m. You know what I mean? Like that's not good. Like you have to draw a line. You can't do that. If you're not getting 6 or 7 hours, then the sleep has to come first. So but yeah, it's a constant balance.
Are you quite pleased that I think most of your like huge success has come, a bit later in life? You started DJing early 20s or whatever. Do you think is it a blessing in disguise that your success has come now because you can make sort of better choices? Like if you were this big at 21, do you think you'd be able to maintain that lifestyle now?
No, I think it's like I was an idiot till I was like 25.
Right.
Not like, I mean, I don't deserve to be in prison or anything, but I wasn't making like good choices. I was just like really immature. So it's kind of crazy when you see someone who makes it really young. It's like, how did you actually manage to? Maybe they got incredible people around them, because people do hold it down when they make it really young. But then also there's a lot of people who don't manage to. So I've said it before that I'm grateful that I had so much figured out before I found the level of success that I did.
Do you think you can sort of make it to your level? Like a lot of DJs ask us, they go, right, I'm into DJing, but like a bit like you did, where started making bootlegs, started making mashups and stuff, and online and SoundCloud, but I'm sort of stuck at residency. Like, can you get to a headline show, festival show, just being a DJ without making music today? Do you think?
Yeah, but good luck. I'm not saying you can't do it, because you probably could, but you'd have to be doing something like, you'd have to be an incredible TikTok maker or something like that. And I mean, I can tell you right now a blueprint to get to play big festivals, and it's called making music. Right. I can't tell you a blueprint to do it without. I'm not saying no one can do it. They probably can, but good luck.
When do you celebrate, like, when you've got wins, when you've, Ferrari's just gone and exploded, how often do you get to celebrate? Like, you're doing this tour now. Will you be able to sit down after it in a week and go, yes, that was unbelievable? But then it's like, boom, we're off to North America for 6 weeks.
I'm not really good at celebrating, but like, I don't know. I enjoy the process. I don't need time off. I don't need to be like, oh yeah, we do, like, I have to force myself to take time off because I love it, mate. Like, I'll be already thinking about what's next already, but that's how I like it. Like, obviously people tell you not to be like that, but I don't know, it makes me happy.
Yeah. Just like, this is what you'd be doing in your spare time if you wasn't.
Yeah, I'd do this for free.
Exactly. Yeah.
It'd still be just as intense if I was doing it for free. I probably wouldn't have as many people around me because I wouldn't be able to pay them. But
yeah, I want to talk about the people around you. So this show that you're traveling around with, you just said it's like a team of 14 that are putting it together. Yeah. Let's talk about like the tech specs and stuff involved in a show like this, because you said to me before, like, because they're, your local clubs, they don't have the sound, the tech basically to put on the show that you want to put on, and you can't ask them to put on 5, 10, 15 grand's worth of equipment because they're just not going to make any money, right? So talk about what is involved in these like Get Closer shows, like from the tech to the rigs to everything. Is it all systems go?
I'll break down who's in the team.
Yes, let's go.
So first of all, we're not making any money from this. This is costing me money, but that's fine. Like, there's shows that you do that you get loads of money from, and shows that you do that you don't get money from. And this is about the culture and paying tribute to the scene that got us all here, and reaching people as well. Like not everyone lives in London, so
exactly.
if you're only doing UK shows in London, you're not going to reach people.
Totally.
So we've got a team of 14 on the tour bus, and So it's myself, my tour manager, who's in charge of everyone, make sure everyone's on time and everything like that. And then content, I've got Wallace, Ben, Alex. Is that right? Did I miss anyone?
Double Alex. Alex
yeah,
squared.
yeah, 2 Alexes. So Wallace is the guy who's been with me the longest. He's in charge of moving differently, like all the YouTube videos and stuff. And then Ben works alongside Wallace, and they do a lot of multicam stuff together. So making sure we've got all the cool angles and stuff. Now there's 2 Alexes who they're not permanent team members. One Alex I've brought on to do some fitness content with me while we're on the road.
Nice.
And he'll also be helping out with the shows.
Nice.
He's experienced in making fitness content. And there's another Alex who is a runner for the other camera guys.
Oh, cool.
So he knows a bit about cameras. He can help them out if he needs to, but he's not really manning a camera.
Yeah.
So that's 5 people. No, 6 people. Okay. And then I have Joe, who is the production manager. Now he's in charge of, he brings like a lighting desk to all the shows and connects to the club, but also brings his own lighting as well. He has 2 guys with him who are like his assistants.
Right.
That's 9 people. I have my PT with me.
Yeah.
Because as I said, we're doing fitness content.
Healthy lifestyle.
But this is for me. It's not even about healthy lifestyle. I can go to. I mean, it is, but I can go to the gym by myself. So it's. I want to be more than the James Hype that I've been for the past 3 years.
Sure.
I want to. James Hype does fitness content with. You know what I mean? So I'm just trying to follow my own passions and just be as me as I possibly can.
Amazing. Yeah.
So that obviously that it costs me money. It's more of an investment, but it's hopefully we can take it somewhere. We've got my tour manager's got an assistant with him as well, a guy called Tolga, who's helping. He's helping doing some of the driving, and he's also close protection guy.
All right,
so,
bouncer.
Bouncer. Who else we got? Oh yeah, we got Sabian, who he's been opening up. He's opening DJ on all the shows.
Oh right, nice.
He's a cool story with Sabian because actually during lockdown he was messaging my friend and he was like, I really want to help. I'm a really big fan of what you guys are doing. I really want to help out. Is there any way I can help out? And I remember we were doing some like location videos, filming around London, and he came with us and just carried boxes and stuff like that. And he eventually became my friend through that process.
Nice.
And since then he's released a record on Stereo Hype, and now he's
cool.
opening for me on these shows, and it's really cool to like be a part of his journey as well. And a Rewire, who you probably know, he's with us on the tour as well. He's going to be closing some of the shows.
Yes.
But
Is he here tonight? Is he?
Yeah, he is.
Oh,
he's actually playing tonight. Yeah,
sick. Let's go.
But as well as that, he's a part of the family.
Yeah, he is.
So
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
Did I miss anyone?
There's 3 Alexes.
Oh yeah. And there's a 3rd Alex who's my long-term friend from when I was growing up, and he works in what do you call it? Like acting. Yeah, he's an actor, but he's just really good with people. So because we're doing these Get Closer shows, we need someone to be in charge of the crowd.
Oh, okay.
Because if we're making content and we've got a bad like arrangement of people behind the DJ, we want it to be as diverse as possible behind the DJ. We don't want it to just be like the same person there for the whole set. We want to circulate the people around for the content and for the enjoyment of the people in the crowd. So he's in charge of that.
That is detail.
That's detail, but it's not the first time we've
cool.
done this.
But it's so cool. Yeah, you figure these out of a rep.
Yeah.
That's so cool. I love that story about was it Sabian reaching out to you as part of a team. Yeah. I remember the story about when you was like blowing up and stuff, like you just DMing for the No Drama, the Craig David tune, just like reaching out to Craig David and then like making it happen. Yeah. That must like I think people underrate the power of just reaching out, right? I think
people are scared of it too,
big time, right?
Because we're all scared of rejection. But I've got another cool story just about not being afraid of rejection.
Yeah,
I made a record with Vintage Culture. And he's a god in Brazil, you know. He's just huge, and that allowed me to have a profile in Brazil as well, which is really cool. But we connected in the pandemic, and the record didn't come out for another 2 years, and basically it required me to follow up 5 or 6 times over the course of 2 years, but eventually the record came out.
Did it?
And if at one point I'd have been like, oh no, he doesn't want to do it, I'm not gonna keep pestering him, then it wouldn't have come out. So and one thing I'll always do as well, if you're someone who's trying to get through to me, if I've replied to you once and then I never reply to you ever again, if I see you're following up and I do reply, I'll be, oh, thanks for following up, because like it's not, I didn't mean to ignore you. You got me at a bad time. You know what I mean? And you can, if you just remember that in your head, like, don't be afraid to follow up with people, because you don't know what day you've messaged them on.
And a lot of people who are in that position, like, they respect it, right? It's not like hassling. If you've got something of value to offer, it's not hassling somebody, is it? It's like I respect that you want this, like, you're hustling, like, we get messages all the time, and if people have got value to offer and they're persistent, it's just it shows character, right? Do you still do that now, reaching out to people? Is there people you still want to work with that you're trying to get hold of?
Every time I go on any sort of interview or podcast, I reach out to Mal P and ask him to collab.
Where is he?
So here it is. Here it is, another one.
Tag him. Let's tag him. Who was someone that replied to you, which you were like, what the fuck? Or is it someone who's DM'd you that's famous and you're like, oh my god?
But Tiesto messaged me this morning. I'm actually ignoring him right now.
Tiesto's on Do Not Disturb.
I just haven't got around to replying, but
I mean, crazy. That's amazing. So, and you've worked with Tiesto, right? Have you done some bits together? Or?
What have we done? He remixed one of my latest singles, but then also we were working on a record together. A few years ago, and basically I just sent him my next single and asked him to remix it, and he's up for it.
He's game.
And I need to reply.
Not if you don't reply. I love that. So the next stages for you then is, like you've sort of alluded to there, is like building out the James Pipe brand even further. You're talking about a bit more fitness content. Is it just whatever leads you just want to talk about stuff you're passionate about, and that happens to be another thing, or is there a bigger play?
There's no real plan here. I was intrigued by the idea of making an Instagram profile for something that wasn't me trying to go viral DJing, you know, because it can be frustrating sometimes when that's your only output, you know. So I was like, oh well, what if we like just try this thing? And I was getting really into the gym, training every day when I was home, and I had this opportunity. My manager was like, oh, I don't know if you guys probably aren't all familiar because this is a DJ podcast, but the biggest bodybuilding competition in the world is called Mr. Olympia. And they host it in Las Vegas every year. And the biggest athletes, they make loads of money. It's huge.
It's a big deal.
But it's also pretty niche. You know, like, it's not like it's not like something everyone's into.
Cool.
But my manager had the people from the Olympia reach out to him saying, oh, we were wondering, we're big fans of James. We were wondering if he would like to do a sort of activation with us around the Olympia. Nice. Would he like to come to Mr. Olympia and meet some of the bodybuilders and stuff? So I had this opportunity and I was like, yeah, why not? Let's do it. So I was chatting to my trainer and he's really into it, and we sort of put a plan together for me to get in really good shape, not like bodybuilder shape, but like DJ shape, you know? And so I started this Instagram and I was like, well, let's just do it. Let's see where it goes. And I'm still in that phase. It's not like oh, I'm gonna make money off this or anything. Like, let's just see where it goes.
The set tonight then in Leeds, I want to talk about like how a lot of people will, because your sets are so technical now. What are you on? You're on 4 CDJ 3000s, 2000s. Tell us a bit why you're on. Go back, because I remember the beef of you and 3000s. Why are you on 2000s? Just if people have not seen the video you did.
I'll be honest, I haven't tried the 3000s for a long time. Fair. But I had a really bad experience. Like, so through the pandemic, when I was doing all my live streams, I was using CDJ 3000s, and I actually did a demo of the 3000s for Pioneer DJ at a NAMM show, and so I was the 3000 guy. Like, when I launched it for a long time, I was playing on the 3000s, and when I was using them at home, they were perfect, they were great. And then I got to festivals and they didn't work anymore. And I don't know if it's like something to do with the way they're linked, something to do with show control or something like that that's different when you're on a big stage. Or maybe I just had a perfect set at home. But we tried all the firmware models and everything, and I couldn't get them. Basically, they were quantized. I had the quantize on one beat, and I would be like let's say I had 2 faders up, and I would beat jump. I use beat jump loads, and I use hot cues loads. Yeah. So these features really rely on quantize,
100%.
Especially if you've got 2 faders up. If the quantize isn't on for whatever reason, then it's going to sound like a mess. Yeah. So I'm beat jumping around, looping around, cueing around with 2 faders up. All of a sudden, they're not in sync anymore.
Yeah,
and the quantize is on, and that kept happening to me. And it happened on some big stages, and I was like, "This is stupid. I look like I can't DJ." And it must.
You speak to them about it or not?
Yeah. They were always like, "Oh yeah, next firmware will be fine. Next firmware." Right. And it got to a point where I was like, "Do you know what? If it ain't broke, do you know? Like, I'd love to use the 3000s, but I also it's pretty important to me to put on a good show." So I was just like, "Let me just use the 2000s because they were fine anyway. 3000s are nice because the screen's huge, but other than that, and I do a lot of planning and prepping, so I don't really need the big screen for most of my sets. I'm 2000s through and through.
How much planning goes in? Have you got like different? Because you said you got like a Vegas show, but then you're in the UK for a bit. Have you got different sets planned for each show? And do you like to leave a bit of room for freestyle?
It very much varies from show to show. Like the Get Closer tour that we're doing this week, I'm playing the same set all week.
Yep.
And I actually really hate saying that because that doesn't feel like DJing to me, but that's what's going to make this so good. Mm-hmm. This is, for me, when I do Get Closer, it's ADHD DJing. It's 20 seconds of a record with 4 acapellas on top of it. That's the way that I play when I do a Get Closer set, so that requires planning and prep and rehearsal. I spent 3 days in my studio in London making the set for this tour, but once this tour's over, you'll never see that set again.
No.
So when I'm doing regular shows, not Get Closer, then I'll create a new playlist in Recordbox every night.
Yep.
Now, I'll copy and paste a lot of stuff from the previous night over, but then I'll be testing out a couple of new tunes. Right. I'll probably, if it's one of my own productions, I'll make a new version of it. Just trying. I've got to keep myself interested as well. I don't understand how people play the same set all the time.
No, no way.
And so the amount of preparation kind of depends on the style of set.
Yeah. When this tour's sort of over and done with, what does the rest of the year? Are you home for Christmas and that stuff, or is it?
I think 100%? I'm going to go to Vegas. I'm not working. I mean, I'm working on the 26th or the 27th, but actual Christmas Day, myself and my partner's family live like a long way apart, and I don't want to go to both places, I don't know. So maybe I think we're going to see the family before Christmas and then disappear for Christmas. Yeah. But so this tour ends on Saturday. Mm-hmm. On Sunday, I'm going to celebrate my birthday with my fiance for 2 days, awesome. And then I'm going to Las Vegas, but not for my birthday, for work. But then we're going to America for the weekend, basically.
Nice. But I'm excited to come for tonight, meet the team, and then see the show. I'm buzzing. And what's amazing, what I wanted to tell everyone was, you got a small window before you got to go and load into the show tonight, and you actually reached out to us to come speak to us, and that we were talking about like the hustle and that hard work and stuff, and it's like it's unbelievable that you'd come, have a spare hour, just run in here, have a chat with us, speak to our Crossfader community, and I think that just speaks volumes of what you're trying to do with this tour as well. So like, best of luck with it. You don't need much luck, but best of luck with it. And it'll be on our, so we'll come down and film some bits and stuff, but you're going to upload everything to your YouTube and stuff, everything to be about, so we can see it and feel like you're there if you're not there. But mate, thank you so much for coming and speaking to us, man. It's been amazing. And let's go and party. Let's go.